So I was sitting in the Discord, trying to learn how to play both Draco Slayer and Veil. It's run a bit of a pendulum bender at the minute, and I'm trying to learn how those decks work. Finally finished building them. But when I needed to take a break so that my brain wouldn't turn to mush, we decided to play some Punk Cash on the ladder, and we instantly got to Master from Diamond 2 in what must have been 45 minutes. And this deck is far and away my favourite deck to play at the minute. It is so fun. A lot of people in the chats on live streams and comments and videos, everyone is loving this deck, and I am so glad that you are, because I absolutely love to play it. My biggest issue with this deck is that whenever I sit down to record it, I get all of my replays so fast that I don't get to play it very long. That's my biggest problem with this deck. I absolutely adore it. So again, I hope all of you do as well. I hope all of you are having a lot of fun here. This deck list is the deck list we got the Master with. Again, it was an absolute breeze. We pissed past it. No problems at all. In fact, we lost like 2 games, and one of them was against Punk Kashtira, which was so funny. But yeah, there you go. We're going to show off 4 replays here, just 4 of the better replays from the run. Again, they were all fantastic, so it was hard to pick, but just some decent ones that show a little sort of differing levels of interaction. Deck profile at the end for anyone unfamiliar with the deck. We're going to briefly cover it off, not in any massive amount of detail, but we're going to talk about each of the cards and sort of what they're doing. So if you're interested in this as well as any other videos we do like this, feel free to subscribe. We got new content every single day on the channel, so make sure you're tuned in and you can catch things as they're coming out live. And like the video if you want to show a little bit of support. But if you're in a position where you want to show even more support for the channel, if you're a fan and really want to show that support off, you can of course join as a member as well. Our memberships are slowly but surely growing, and I really appreciate anyone who's has been willing to sign up to it thus far. Your support is far and away appreciated. And again, once we can get a decent sort of significant following there, we can start doing membership exclusive perks. Right now at the minute with so few members, it doesn't make any sense, but as we continue to climb and build, we will continue to expand the range of services available to our members, especially as the Converged gaming expands beyond just a YouTube channel, with our website coming out, with our merchandise and everything already here and lined up ready to go. Converged gaming merchandise, card sleeves and other things as well due to come. Anything like that, absolutely. Join if you want, subscribe if you want, like if you want. But anyway, let's get into the gameplay. Fortunately for us, Tearlaments are a dying breed, but this replay is going to show off that even with Tearlaments legal in the meta, we're not overly worried about it. We're going to start off with Unicorn. This card has to be my favorite starter in Punk. I know not everyone plays this in their Punk decks, and I think that's a mistake. This card is so good. It eats ashes, it eats imperms, it eats veilers like nothing else, keeping your plays safe. You're tricking your opponent into thinking you're just playing Kashtira, because that is ridiculously popular right now, and the biggest negate you want to sort of hit in terms of starters with Kashtira is definitely the Unicorn, because Kashtira Birth is so massively impactful. But not only all of that, if they allow it to resolve, the fact that you can snipe things out of your opponent's extra deck, like a Kikalos for example, is just incredible. So Unicorn is great. I love Unicorn. We're going to go for Ogre Dance here, grabbing Zeoman from the deck as well. Normal summon the Zeoman, paying 600 to grab ourselves a Foxy Tune. Standard lanes here, but unlike the standard lanes, we're able to utilize our level 7 Unicorn and our Zeoman for Baron de Fleur. And another reason as to why I love Unicorn in particular is that we simply get to bring it back off of Kashtira Birth, which is incredible. That allows us to line up another Synchro monster, which is great. But this Baron de Fleur protects us from evenly matched, protects us from the Biru, protects us from Imperm, protects us from Ash, does all of that fun stuff. So Baron de Fleur is a vital layer of protection, and the Kashtira cards make it so much easier. And this is going to be case in point right here. We go for Carp, they go for an Ash Blossom, not a mission. Unfortunately, we didn't have the foresight to use Birth earlier in the turn, otherwise we would have got a little peek under the hood of our opponent's extra deck there to banish a card. But nonetheless, it is what it is. We're still going to negate that Ash Blossom and subsequently allow our Carp to resolve, which would otherwise have been game over, right? For Punk, that would have been GG's. Now being able to bring back the Unicorn, we're going to search our deck for the field spell then activating, so we can go into our Synchro monster, the Jam Dragon Drive. Jam Dragon then going to activate, paying 600 to search our deck for another Psychic monster, and then our Deer Note's going to bring back one from the graveyard. This is why I don't really play Ghost Ogre, because like it's very, very rare that you're going to want to search for Ghost Ogre. Madame Spider is always the way. unless you opened up the trap card. But we're only playing one, so it doesn't happen very often. We're going to pay 600, grab the trap card. That's going to trigger our draw one again. Pot of Greed, drawing into Tactics, which is an awesome card right now. Into the Qing Ying, and then we're going to pass here. So what have we got? We've got a Baron's going to tag out here, but we have a Jam Dragon to bounce 4 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4 cards back to our opponent. Like, that's it. They have 4 cards in their hand. We can bounce 4 cards back to the hand. How are you going to play the game? We also have, of course, the Unicorn, which is going to come back. We have the Graveyard Disruption with the Kashtira Birth. We have a Monster Negate with the Danger. We have the Banishment effects off of the Supreme Sovereign, should they be playing something like Kashtira as well. And, of course, and look at our hand for our insane level of follow-up. Not to mention our +1 here as well. Like, our hand is disgusting. Even if all of this disappears, our hand is brutal. Right, so we're going to bring out the Unicorn here. We could have, if we were good at the game, we could also have already banished the card from their extra deck, but unfortunately, I didn't think to use Birth earlier in the turn. I was just convinced he didn't have any hand traps, because I thought he would have used it earlier, but apparently not. So we didn't get the sniper card out of the extra deck, but this is going to facilitate that. They're going to send a Havness. We're going to trigger Unicorn here. He's going to go for Super Polymerization. There you go. This match isn't as clean cut as one might think it is. One of the best board breakers in the game, fusing away both our Psychic monsters into Karura. Now it's not looking so clear cut, is it? We're gonna banish their Kikalas from the extra deck though. Kikalas being banished is just GG's against Tearlaments. I'm sorry, it just is. Draxtapelia making its way out though off of the Havness because they summoned the Karura, which was awesome. They're gonna Fenrir banish Qing Ying. Now they're gonna use Stapelia to negate the Qing Ying. This is pretty funny. I love this interaction. Let's see this shit. This was amazing. I really wanted to show this off. We're going to go Gabu. We're going to negate the Fenrir because we don't care about this. This actually benefits us. So it does. And I'm going to show you why. This was funny. I love this. They're going to link off now into Ayusa, the Earth Charmer. That's fine. Earth Charmer get targeting, bringing back the Deer Note. Look at this. They're going to link someone off into Sprint using our Deer Note. That's going to trigger his Sprint and our Deer Note. We're going to bring back Sharkusai. But we don't have a level 8 on the board. All we got is a level 7 and a level... It's a level 1. So, Sprint sending Merly going to fusion summon into the Kaleidoheart. Kaleidoheart, of course, are going to be able to spin one of our cards back to the deck here. Qing Ying being negated. Doesn't matter. In the phase of the Sharkusai, able to chain to Synchro Summon using a 7, a 1, and a 3 to Synchro Summon into the amazing Dragon, dodging the Kaleidoheart. Going to now activate, spin his whole field back to the hand, and draw 1. Plus we have Unicorn, we have Ogre, we have Birth, we have Tactics, we have Maxi now. And there you go. Incredible. This was literally the first game we played when we picked the game. This was the first game. And that was amazing. That little Qing Ying action there, I really love that. That wasn't planned. I didn't expect him to be stupid enough to pick up our Deer Note. But it was really funny that he did. But either way, great game. Let's get into game 2. Already getting into game 2 here. We're going second, and look at this. This is a Kashtira matchup. A lot of Kashtira on the ladder, 100%. Lot of Kashtira. Look at this hand. What other deck can you look at your hand and you open up 5 hand traps and still win the game? Let's see. We're going to negate the Unicorn. Again, Unicorn eats Imperms. And again, even I'm going to Imperm it. I know that this card eats Imperms because I can't let them get Kashtira Birth. That card's fucking nuts. And they're going to go for Regained here. It turns out they're playing Dragon Link. They normal summon the Recharger to get gaming. We just activate the Maxi. And they're going to pass. Smart. So they eat up 2 cards out of our hand. And just like this, with the top of a deck, full combo. You know what I mean? That's nuts. Just full combo. Just 5 hand traps and full combo. Insane. We're going to Unicorn the Imperm. We're going to, Imperm the Unicorn one more time. He's got the Maxi. We got the Ash ready for the Maxi. And just like that, his whole board... gone, done, finito, finished. Doesn't exist anymore. They're not real. It's fictional. You've no more interruptions. You're done. So our opponent's going to stick around though. Unicorn, of course, can't use its effects. We're going to go Foxy Toon, dropping itself and our last Imperm, summoning out the Xiamen. Xiamen then paying 600, grabbing us a Sharkusai. Normal summon the Shark. We're going to use these two going into the Rising Carp, of course. Rising Carp going to activate, tribute itself. Going to grab ourselves the Wagon and the Deer Note from the deck. Wagon paying 600, grabbing us the Field Spell. Standard combo. This is what you're going to do every single game. This combo is so consistent, especially alongside the Kashtira cards being able to eat up interruptions. Exactly like our opponents did, where his Unicorn ate a Imperm that was meant for a Romulus. That was meant for a Chaos Ruler. There you go. Even for our opponent, our imperms are being eaten up by his subpar targets. That's probably something I want to play around with Dragon Link, actually. We're going to grab the Madame Spider as per normal. We get to draw one as well off our field spell. Drawing in the instant contact, man. We're just good at the game. We're going to special summon out the Madame Spider here. They are going to draw one off of our Foxy Tune, but that's totally fine because we get to grab the trap card and draw one again. We draw in the Tactics. Tactics just because we're good at the game, man. We're going to summon out the Neos. We're going to use the Tactics, grabbing the Unicorn. Sometimes you're just better. We're going to go Baron here, Baron the Flare. Now we're going to use these two to go into the Amazing Dragon. We're not going to bounce anything because his only monster has 0 attack points. Why would we do that when we can bring back the Xiamen to go into the Ching Ying? Bringing out Ching Ying, Baron, and the Amazing Dragon. Going to boost up the Amazing Dragon, use Baron, pop the Branded. Now here, we were constantly getting like glowing things on the field. We eventually figured out that after we banished our Foxy Tune, they stopped. So I knew that it was a Bestial. We knew he has a Bestial in hand because we were able to detect. Your deck doesn't lose to Bestials here because we only play a couple of Lights or Darks. That makes Bestials actually super easy to spot. So we knew he had one. So we swing with the Amazing Dragon. We know he's going to summon it out here. He's got the Drissworm. We're going to banish the Recharger to do it. But we got Ching Ying. We don't care. That's why I summoned Ching Ying. I went out of my way to summon the card for this exact purpose. Dealing with the Bestial and facilitating lethal. I don't know. This was game 2. These games were back to back. Like this is I'm not fishing for replays. Like these games were literally back to back, and they're just really good displays of the deck. Really awesome. Again, 5 hand traps in your opening hand. You top deck in the Foxy Tune, full combo. Insane. It's unironically probably one of the best hands you could possibly have with this deck, short of having a Unicorn in hand. See if you tag one of the Imperms out for a Unicorn, beautiful, best hand in the game. But that's a close fucking second. I'm not gonna lie. But either way, let's get into game 3. Alrighty, so getting into game 3 here, we are going first. A bit of a lack of hand traps on our opening hand here, opening up our one of Deer Note and one of Wagon. This hurts a little bit on occasion. You really don't want to be seeing these cards in your opening hand because they're so accessible from the deck, because you'll still do the exact same combo. But now what we're doing is, instead of summoning 2 cards from the deck as part of our combo, we're summoning 2 cards from the hand as part of our combo, which sort of really sucks, right, in terms of your card advantage. But it's still the correct play. We're going to normal summon Xiamen, try to use its effect to get some momentum going here. Unfortunately, it gets interrupted. That does actually change the direction of the turn here. We are going to use our Deer Note, summoning itself out to the field. We're not going to go down the full route of the combo, but we are going to go for the Jam Dragon Drive. Going to pay 600, grab a card. In situations like this, let me bring up the extra deck here. In situations like this, I wasn't playing Chaos Ruler. And I kind of wish I was. Actually, someone in the comments on the previous video pointed out some very niche situations in which the Chaos Ruler would be super useful that I wasn't using it in. I can't remember if this exact situation would fall into that. We would have had to mill a Foxy Tune, but it at least would have given us a chance at hitting a Foxy Tune and starting the combo, right? So again, I can absolutely see where the Chaos Ruler would be useful there. But it is what it is. We did eventually put it in, I think, because of this game. Now we're going to go into the Psychic and Punisher, and we're just going to chill on Punisher Imperm. Again, 5 cards in hand, not exactly the most intimidating of boards, but he is going to have to work to get this out of the way. Luckily, again, we know the meta. The meta is Kashtira. Kashtira Unicorn is in every motherfucker's deck. Everyone's using Unicorn, everyone's using Fenrir, everyone's using these cards to try and break boards. So whenever you're able to disrupt these cards, it's really not that large of a concern. Unfortunately, this mad lad just had Kashtira Birth in hand, right? So fuck me, I guess. They are going to normal summon out Pancratops. He's playing both the new and the old Pancratops. He's going all the fucking way with the Dino Wrestler here. Going to go into the battle phase. What's important to note, his plan here, his plan was into the battle phase. We boost, he attacks. We then have more life points than him, and then his Pancratops can get rid of Punisher. So we specifically didn't boost our attack points, so that whenever I knew he would attack with his Unicorn, because he could bring the Unicorn back off of birth, he was not going to commit his Pancratops to that play, and doesn't take a genius to work that one out. We knew he was going to swing with Unicorn, and I was expecting him to not attack after he realized that I knew what he was doing, but I think he was just trying to close the gap so he could maybe take advantage of it in a later turn. But either way, he swings in to lower his life points. If we had have boosted with our Psychic and Punisher, we would have lost this game there and then. but luckily we didn't, so we still have less life points than our opponent, which means that our Psychic and Punisher are still unaffected. He goes into Drakesec of all cards, which I thought was really interesting. Bringing out 2 tokens and passing turn, I guess. I don't know why Drakesec over the likes of... I don't know, maybe he just didn't want to use the Shangrira? I don't know, I really don't. Maybe his plan is to sit on some hand traps, who knows? We're going to go for Wagon here. He's going to Ash that because he doesn't want us having the field spell apparently, which makes sense. We do get to bring back our Jam Dragon though, off of that, because remember, Jam Dragon can bring itself back from the graveyard if your opponent activates a card in response to a punk. This card's incredible. Honestly, it really is. That's what I'm saying. Even like in hindsight, I'm like, yeah, Chaos Ruler might have worked out, but this card was guaranteed value, so I really don't regret making the play I did. And in hindsight, Chaos Ruler may not even have been the way. But either way, this is what we've got. We're going to go into the Amazing Dragon here. I don't think we do use the Amazing Dragon's effect. We get rid of the 2 tokens because our tactics is going to be able to take that Drakesec thanks to the fact that he gave us his Ash Blossom there. We would have been able to use Punisher to banish the Drakesec and his Birth to get rid of all that advantage, but we've got Lethal. We're not going to be, we just go and swing. Tactics, carrying hard as well. 2 copies of Tactics in the deck. We're drawing into it a lot because the deck has a shitload of draw power. It doesn't even. It has enough draw power, and you do enough thinning of your own deck through your combo to where you're normally going to draw into your non-engine cards because you use up a lot of your engine during the combo. So because of that, you have so few bad cards left in your deck to draw that you normally draw into something pretty damn useful off of your field spell. So drawing into Tactics, drawing into Imperm, drawing into Maxi, into Ash, all of these cards is very, very common because you're thinning out all of the other cards. But either way, another great game, honestly, just absolutely crushing. Punk has a super good matchup against Kashtira under the right circumstances. Kashtira can hurt Punk pretty badly if they banish the wrong cards from the extra deck, but generally speaking, there's no one target they can hit that's going to leave you like paralyzed. Yeah, they take out your Rising Carp, it sucks, right? But there's no like one target they can focus on that's going to completely take you out of the game. So you'd still have a decent enough matchup unless you start getting to turn 4, turn 5, then you're struggling. Then Kashtira maybe is going to have you beat there because their long game is better, but even you yourself have Kashtira cards that you can rely upon and hopefully use to win the game. But ultimately, yes, a regular Kashtira deck will beat you in the long game, which is why, as a Punk player, you need to beat them in the short run. You need to just crush them out the gate, no questions asked, exactly like this. Let's get into game 4. Alrighty, last replay of the video here. We did open up with the Unicorn. It was actually this match. You can see the extra deck here. We're playing Unicorn and IP. It was this match that convinced me to put in some Exceed monsters. The last 2 to 3 zones of your extra deck are like super ridiculously flexible. There's 4 cards in the extra deck in total that I think are just total flex spots that you can put in sort of whatever you want. I believe IP and Unicorn are both in those spots. Chaos Angel and Brave Neos are the other 2. I think those 4 cards you can sort of chop and change and do whatever with. And we're going to talk about that during the deck profile. But again, just think about the capability of having a rank 7 whenever you're looking at this board. So they're going to go Maxi, we're going to go Ash, because of course we are. We're running 9 outs to, or sorry, we're running 6 outs to the Maxi, which again, you're more likely to have one than not. So I believe it's like a 51% chance. So it's still a coin flip, but you're more than likely going to have an answer to Maxi. Okay, we're going to go for the Zeoman here. Of course, standard plays, E-telling out the Zeoman. Now we're going to Fusion here. You would have liked to go in the Asynchro Monster if we had like one more extender, but it's unnecessary. And what might even have been a good option here is instead of going Sharkusai to normal summon, we could have grabbed Foxy Toon to special summon the Sharkusai, which would have had additional cost, but it would have meant that we could potentially use our normal summon with Kashtira Birth later in the turn. Again, another thing to think about. These aren't necessarily misplays, that's not what's happening. What we're talking about is alternative plays that could be made under different circumstances, because ultimately what's going to happen here is we're going to start drawing, we're going to start searching, we're going to start grabbing cards like it's nobody's business here. We're going to bring 1 back there, so there's 1, there's 2, we get to draw 1 off the field spell, bang, there's 3, there's an Imperm right there. We're going to use the field spell, banish the card, bringing out Madame Spider, going to use it, there's 4, adding a trap card to your hand, draw another 1 off the field spell, there's 5, and this is the reason I was bringing that thing up earlier on. If we had went Foxy Tune at the beginning of the turn to summon it to Sharkusai, we would have been able to normal summon this Fenrir using Kashtira Birth. Is that the end of the world? No. We would have had to predict drawing in the Kashtira monster, so it's not a misplay, we just didn't have that information. It would have been nice in hindsight, but it also would have meant giving up the likes of one of our cards. So it's not, again, ultimately doesn't make a massive difference. The difference that would have been made would be having a Fenrir on board, which is good, but don't get me wrong, it's fantastic, but it's not like end of the world. This board is still fucking incredible. This board is still insane. We got Graveyard Disruption, negate, negate, negate. Huge bounce 4 cards. We got the extra deck banish. We got the max C. Like, this is incredible. We got the draw 1 as well. This is incredible. They're going to start with Fenrir. We're going to activate max C to trigger his effect. This is a small like optimization. I'm pausing a lot, I know. So here's a small little thing. The thing about Kashtira cards is you really want to bait out their effects so that whenever, because what they're very good at doing is getting their Kashtira monsters off the field to then bring them back onto the field. So you want them to use their effects as much as you possibly can so that whenever they try to resummon, the cards have already been used. So we bait him into using his banish on the max C. So we could have negated him first and then max C, but no, we use the max C first to bait the effect, then we negate. So if he has like another Fenrir, it means he can't like summon it and then swing, right? He can't do it. He does go into the battle phase here, and it is important to know that because now we're going to be using the Sharkusai to bounce that thing back to hand. Or sorry, no, we wouldn't be actually. I want to talk about this as well. A lot of micro interactions with Kashtira being so popular. There's a lot of like micro interactions you're going to want to be aware of that's going to help you in this particular matchup, because Kashtira as a pure deck type isn't that good. It really isn't. It's super popular because it's easy to play. It can be abusive, and the matches are generally quite quick. So a lot of people like playing Kashtira. It's super popular, and it is decently strong, but it's not nearly as strong as our deck. Not even close. So what you typically want to do in a situation like this, because his Fenrir doesn't pose a threat to us, and he can special summon possibly another punk monster from his hand, or even special summon back this same Fenrir if we were to bounce it back to his hand to use its search effect, there's no point in us activating the Amazing Dragon's Bounce. We're just going to let it sit. We're bigger than all of his monsters. He can't swing into anything, so now he's just wasted his battle phase. No banishes, no searches, no hoes, no bitches. He gets nothing out of it, right? He does have Kashtira Birth in hand though, which does get annoying, so we are going to negate that right off the bat. Kashtira Birth is one of the most powerful cards in their deck, so getting rid of that is absolutely brutal. Gonna go for the Raise Heart here, banishing the Unicorn. We're gonna hit that with an Imperm. We do not need to be dealing with any rank 7 shenanigans here. And that was his normal summon as well, so I'm assuming he doesn't have any extenders here. Gonna go for the M phase. Looking good. Again, absolutely conquered. We've got the Maxi, we drew the Ash Blossom there, which is great. Gonna pop the Fenrir before it becomes a problem. Gonna bring out Fenrir of our own. And just like that, our opponent doesn't want none of it. He does not want the smoke. There's a lot to know about the Kashtira matchup, but you have a huge advantage in that matchup. And a lot of people are saying that like, oh, Punk loses or auto loses to like a Cart Banish or whatever. And while it can hurt and it does disrupt your primary combo, the whole point of Punk is that it's so versatile and so out there that there's no one avenue you can shut down that's going to prevent me from playing the game. You can't do it. You simply can't. It's not. There's no one or even 2 cards in my extra deck you can banish that's going to stop me from winning. So, again, you do have a really good matchup against Punk. You just need to be aware of their cards. Be aware of what the problems are. Be aware of how to manipulate their board against them. Know what their monsters do. Tame your interruptions well. Make sure you're not just willy-nilly throwing imperms at shit and like bouncing shit back and doing all of that. It's not going to work. You need to timing. You need priorities. And you need to use their resources and knowledge against them. But anyways, let's get into the deck profile. Alrighty, so this is the deck profile. Right away, is there anything that in hindsight I would like to change? Probably not. The only thing that's really iffy, and the thing that people can maybe debate on or change about, is these 4 spots in the extra deck. Brave Neos, Chaos Ruler, Chaos Angel, and Shangri-La. So, this part of the extra deck here, this is core. I would say... You could debate Dragite. I really like Dragite though. I think Dragite's fucking awesome. But let's take out Dragon, right? There you go. Here are 10 cards, I think, in the extra deck that would be extremely beneficial for you to play. I'm not saying that you absolutely need 2 Amazing Dragons. You don't need 2 Jam Dragons. You don't even need to play the Instant Contact package, although it's super cheap. I don't know why you wouldn't. But my point is, this set of 10 cards would be extremely beneficial for you to play. And I would highly recommend you play them. I would also highly recommend Dragite. Not to the same extent, but pretty damn close. Anything after that is entirely up to you. So I was playing Brave Neos and Chaos Angel, primarily just to abuse Chaos Angel. Its effects are pretty fucking awesome. But we very, very seldom summon it because it's competing directly with Bron de Fleur and Xing Ying, which in most situations are better cards, at least in my opinion. So we ended up very, very seldom summoning Chaos Angel, and it takes up 2 extra deck slots, because not only do you need itself, of course, you also need a light non-tuner to summon, which is going to be your Brave Neos. So by cutting Chaos Angel, we can also cut Brave Neos. So that saves us 2 spots. Chaos Ruler is a fantastic option as well to fill in the extra deck. It allows you to play through certain interruptions, it allows you to play through certain bricks. Not a lot of various situations can really come up with this card will enable opportunities that you otherwise wouldn't have. It's not very common, and even in those types of situations, it's not even guaranteed to do anything. But it is definitely a valid option, and you have the room for it. So if it can unbrick certain situations, why not have it for those certain situations, right? So I think Chaos Ruler is definitely a pretty solid add if you're looking down that route. Shangri-La and some other rank 7 shenanigans, I'm going to just lump rank 7s in just as a term. Think Big Eye, think Diabolosis, think Dark Armed, think Shangri-La. I think potentially at least one rank 7 would be super useful. I like Shangri-La because I like being able to bring out Fenrir from deck, and I like the longevity it gives me, bringing back a Unicorn during the following turn, and so on and so forth. So I really like the longevity that this card gives me. I'm not really using it for its other effect to like lock up zones. If we can lock up some zones, great. But that's not something that I like being done to me, so it's not something I like doing to my opponents. Just, it's cheap, it's stupid, I hate it. But again, its first 2 effects I do really like. I think summoning a Kashtira monster from deck is really solid. Being able to bring out the likes of Fenrir and Unicorn very easily. And then, of course, its destruction protection gives you a little bit of safety and follow-up as well with that 3k defense. So yeah, I like Shangri-La. Big Eye is a really solid option as well. Dark Armed is a really good option if you want a more going second focus card. So all of those are great options. I would lump those all into one category. I would not play more than 2. If you want to play a rank 7 Exceed, I would play 2 at most, unless you really want to go hard into it. If you want to play anything more than 2, I would possibly consider adding Raise Heart to your main deck. But I think 2 is fine. Just worry about 2. Everything else can go. And then lastly, there's a couple of other minor cards you might want to consider. Namely, I like IP and Unicorn. It's a bit resource heavy, so I'm not like in love with it. But these 2 cards can basically just turn a bricked board into at least an interruption, because it's very generic in terms of its materials. Another use is that it can proc your Deer Notes effect if it's on the field with like something I can't synchro summon with. So in niche situations, it can help unbrick a board, potentially, but it's primarily just there as like a backup interruption, but it is quite costly in terms of its resources, and it's not super worth it. So if you didn't want to play that engine, I would totally understand. I really like in this deck the Earth Charmer. I really like this, even just as a standalone card, not like link climbing, not doing any shenanigans. I think that I really like this card purely for my ability to trigger off my Deer Note by sending it to the grave, even if not for a synchro summon. Plus I can steal the likes of opponents' Fenrirs in a mirror match. I can steal their Xiamen, I can steal their Sharkusai, I can do all of that fun stuff. So I think Ayusa is actually decent, and I think Punk is going to see, not only is it a decently popular now, it's not as if you never see it, right? You do see it here and there, but I think it's going to get even more popular once the new ban list hits, because it is largely unaffected and extremely powerful. So I dare say we're going to be seeing more Punk. So Ayusa can actually really help you in the mirror match, as well as unbricking your Deer Note. So I really like this card. But yeah, there's a bunch of different options for you for the last few spots in the extra deck, just before someone harasses me about it in the comments, because I know, I get it. That's just what we were playing. There's some more generic options like Cicada King and stuff like that, but they're not really as good as the ones we talked about, at least not in my opinion. But yeah, there you go. That's the extra deck flex spots talked about. Let's talk briefly about the main deck. One of the best things about the main deck, as you saw in the gameplay, is that we play a shitload of flex spots, and I think that's super important in the meta. I think that's super important in general competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! And will be going forward, and has been for quite some time. I think decks that only play 6, 8, 9 flex spots, 9 is sort of where I draw like the minimum, in my opinion. If you don't have at least 9 flex spots, you're not that good. Your deck is just not that good. And again, as far as I'm concerned, if your deck doesn't have at least 9 flex spots, just because, and the reason for that is very specific. If you don't have 9 flex spots, because think about what that means. That means your deck, your actual core strategy, encompasses 32 cards in your deck. Now, hopefully a bunch of that is extenders, right? But if your actual core combo requires more than a handful of cards, it's going to be wildly inconsistent. You're going to brick like hell. It's going to be really prone to interruption. It's going to have very, very obvious choke points. So unless you're playing a shitload of extenders in there, there's no reason for you not to have this amount of flex spots. So at least 9, I think, is like a minimum for a competitive strategy. In most cases, you know, maybe there's an exception out there. I know a lot of people play Dragon Link with very few hand traps. Fair enough. Mad lads, in my opinion. But yeah, I think at least 9 is very, very, like, the baseline. I think 9 is solid. That's really where you want to draw the line. If your deck has less than 9 zones available, you maybe want to rethink some of the decisions that you're making when it comes to the construction of the main strategy. In this deck, though, we've got more than enough room. We have, of course, our 9 core cards. We got the Maxi, Ash Blossom, Call By, and Crossout. That is our Maxi package, guaranteed. 6 counters to Maxi, as well as 3 copies of the card itself. Absolutely mandatory. Again, no negotiation. I won't hear it. Absolutely mandatory. Have to play it. Unless you don't have the cards, in which case, get the cards. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Just get them. Just get them. It's a worthwhile investment. They're all really powerful, really generic cards, and so long as Maxi is legal in this format, you cannot allow it to resolve. Otherwise, you will automatically lose that game. I'm sorry, it's just true. But on top of that, on top of our Maxi package, we've also got, of course, Triple Imperm, which is awesome. Imperm is dope right now, really good against Kashtira, really solid against Kit, although that's not really going to be that big of a concern very soon once the new ban list hits. But yeah, Imperm is definitely one of the most powerful generic cards because of its versatility, both going first and second, and that's why I love it so much. Is not just is it a really solid interruption and card, it's really good going second as well. It crosses that bridge between Veiler and Dark Ruler really well, in my opinion. This is just what I just look at it as a middle ground between Veiler and Dark Ruler. So that's just the way I look at it. And then we've also got Tactics. Has won me a bunch of games. This card can be whatever you want. If you want to play Nib here, Nib's fine. If you want to play, maybe you want to play Veiler here. Veiler is a good card you could play on this spot if you're, again, wanting to focus more on going first. I mean, Veiler's not terrible going second either, but I think Tactics is definitely really solid right now. So I'm a big fan of Tactics right now, but you can play whatever you want in this particular spot. And then, yeah, the main deck itself is really straightforward. We're playing a very minimalist punk package. We're playing, well, no, we're not. We're playing, of course, out of our level 3s, we got 1 of each except Xiamen, 1 Shark, 1 Wagon, 1 Madame, 3 Xiamen. For anyone who hasn't played punk before or hasn't watched any of my videos in the past, I'm going to briefly explain the cards, although I'm not going into a massive amount of detail because I've done this a million times before. But basically, your 3 small punks, the Wagon, Madame Spider, and Xiamen all pay 600 life points to search your deck for a card. Xiamen searches Monster, Madame searches Trap, and Wagon searches Spell. Sharkusai will pay 600 life points during your turn to fusion summon using some of your punks, and during your opponent's turn will synchro summon using your punks. Well, using into a punk synchro monster. So we got 3 searchers and your fusion / synchro enabler. You got the Deer Note. Deer Note will reveal another punk in hand, special summon either itself or that card, or more importantly, when it's on the field and then sent to the graveyard, you get to revive any punk back from the grave except for itself. So this is a crucial card. A lot of people play it at 2. I get it. Playing it at 2 is a good idea. If you have 2, go for it. I personally think 1 is more than fine, because I play punk super aggressively. I play very, very aggressively. I do not have time nor patience to go into a second Deer Note in most of my games. And normally, if I really need a second copy, I can just bring it back off the Amazing Dragon. So I, generally speaking, don't think a second one is necessary. It's a little clunky, it's a little slow, you don't really want to see it in your opening hand too often. So yeah, ultimately it's up to you, but I think 1 is fine. But 2 is also fine as well. Like, again, don't let me put you off playing 2 if you want to. We got Foxy Toon and Ogre Dance, both at 3. Ogre Dance, discard itself, grab any of your level 3 starters or even Deer Note. Basically grab anyone that isn't a level 8. And Foxy Toon will discard itself and another card to special summon one of your non-level 8 punks. So they're both just extenders, and they can both special summon themselves to the field by tributing a punk, which doesn't come up super often, but you know, sometimes you need a level 8 on board, sometimes you need a 23 or 2500 beater on board. So it is definitely something worth considering, especially with Xiamen, because when Xiamen's sent to the graveyard, it'll boost something by 600 attack points. So more than once, Ogre Dance boosting its tributing over Xiamen, boosting itself up to 3100, has won me games. So more than once that has happened. It is definitely not worth discounting. In terms of the spells and traps for Punk, we have the 1 field spell and the 1 trap card. Field spell is nuts. Up to twice per turn, if you pay life points to activate the effect of a psychic monster, you draw a card, free Pot of Greed every single turn. Secondary to that, you can also banish a punk monster from your graveyard to special summon another punk monster from the hand. Crucial as part of your primary combo, searchable as part of your primary combo, and absolutely broken. And then we have the Dangerous Gabu, which is effectively a searchable imperm. It just negates a monster effect. Really good interruption though, because it's searchable. So that's the punk cards. Let's talk about Kashtira. Super simple Kashtira package. We got the double Fenrir, triple Unicorn, and the single Birth. So Fenrir, of course, both Fenrir and Unicorn will special summon themselves to the field if you control no monsters, which is vital. Their entire point is that they're a level 7, you can spam out, and that they eat interruption, they recur back off of Birth, and they enable your level 10 synchros. Your Baron de Fleur, your Qing Ying are entirely dependent upon these guys, and they are absolutely nuts. They also both beat interruptions because they have really fucking good effects. Fenrir, if can once per turn activate to search your deck for a Kashtira monster. Unicorn will search your deck for a Kashtira spell card. So it will search for your Birth, and Fenrir will search for either another copy of itself or a Unicorn. You might want to consider Razeheart just as an actual impactful Fenrir search target. I really like that idea in most decks. But in this deck, I already don't want to see Woggon in my hand. I already don't want to see Madame Spider in my hand. I already don't want to see the field spell. I already don't want to see Dangerous Gabu. They're not bricks, but I just don't want to see them, right? And I don't want another card that I don't want to see. So that's why we opted not to play it. But you can. Again, if you're that type of guy, if you'd rather risk it, by all means, go ahead. And they also have banishment effects. So if your opponent, if these cards declare an attack, or if your opponent's monster activates an effect, you can either A, with Fenrir, banish a face-up card your opponent controls, or with Unicorn, look at their extra deck and banish any card in their extra deck, both of which will be banished face down. Kashtira Birth allows you to normal summon level 7s with no tributes, and during your main phase you can bring back a non-exceed Kashtira monster from your banished battle graveyard. A massive part of your recurring strategy with your Kashtira cards is Birth, being able to go into a level 10 synchro using a Xiamen and a Unicorn, and then using Birth to bring that Unicorn right back, either baiting another interruption or working alongside your Madame Spider at the end of your combo for a Qing Ying. That's the most common use for it, is that at the end of the combo you normally have a leftover level 3 tuner, which I know a lot of people will try to reuse, and they'll go into an Amazing Dragon, and then Amazing Dragon brings back the level 8 and blah blah blah, which I think is a massive waste of resources. I would much rather put myself in a position where I can bring out a level 7, either off of Birth or off of Instant Contact or something like that, to go into a Qing Ying alongside my Baron and my Amazing Dragon play, right? But that's just me. And then the last card in the main deck we haven't talked about is Instant Contact. It will summon an Elemental Hero fusion monster from your extra deck. It's that simple. We use it as a level 5 and level 7 extender at the cost of 1000 life points. And that's the main deck. Really straightforward. Let's talk briefly about the extra deck. We've already talked about what the flex spots of the extra deck will be. Let's talk about the cards we're putting in. For fusions, we of course have Mariner and Aqua Neos just as instant contact targets, allows us to go into level 8 and level 10 synchros respectively alongside our punk cards. The Raising Carp as well. Raising Carp can tribute itself to summon out 2 punks with different names from the deck, and if it's sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you get to target a punk in your field and it can attack twice. We got Drag Out, which is a spell trap negate so long as you have a water monster in grave. We have the Jam Dragon Drive, double copies. If special summoned, either by a punk effect or when it's synchro summoned, you pay 600 life points, grab a psychic monster from the deck and add it to hand. Works really well alongside the field spell, which you will have already searched for with your Wagon. Its effect will trigger this to draw 1, and then you can use the Extreme Session to special summon the monster that you search for off of your Jam Dragon's effect. You saw the combos. We did it in literally like 3 out of 4 games, and yeah, you know the combo. Again, if you're not sure, you can go back and watch it again, but yeah, it's pretty sick. It can also, if your opponent activates an effect in response to a punk effect, you can bring this card back from the graveyard, which will of course trigger its effect because it's being special summoned by the effect of a punk card being itself. Awesome card overall, love it. Baron de Fleur, most powerful generic level 10 synchro monster. An ignition effect, pop a card, and a once while face up Omni Negate, which is awesome. You need to summon this card as often as you can, basically, because of evenly matched. You really want to have this card on your board. So having a bunch of ways to put level 7s on board is really good. And you might even want to diversify your level 7 portfolio instead of relying just on your Kashtira cards and instant contact, which is a lot of level 7s, let's be real. You might also want to look into potentially the Ascend of the Thunder as well. The Ascend of the Thunder or Psybeast, I think its name is. Yeah, Psybeast isn't terrible. It's not great. In fact, it's pretty bad. But it's another card that can be used for like a level 7 extender. Not ideal though. I would maybe not play that one. But trying to put a level 7 on board to bring out Baron on top of all of your other plays is pretty important. Because you... Man, evenly matched hurts. So long as evenly matched exists, you need to summon Baron. So yeah, just bear that in mind. It is definitely something you should aim for in as many games as you possibly can. Cheng Ying, really solid backup option. Boosts itself and reduces all of your opponents by 100 attack and defense for each banished card. Can protect itself from destruction by banishing a card from the graveyard. And if a card is banished while it's face up, you can target a card in your opponent's field and one in the graveyard and banish both without targeting. This card has again won us countless games. Again, we were against the Phantom Knight player. This guy being able to banish an indestructible, untargetable XYZ Rebellion Dragon with 15,000 attack, literally 15,000 attack. Untargetable, indestructible, are only out. Cheng Ying. This effect comes up a lot. This card's removal effect is amazing and so easy to summon. It becomes huge. It reduces all of your opponents, so battling is no longer a concern. Brutal card, all in all. Absolutely brutal card. We got the Amazing Dragon, which has 2 effects. You're on Synchro Summon. You can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of different level 3 psychic monsters in the grave, bounce them all back to hand. The way this card works is you're going to summon this during your opponent's turn using your Sharkusai, and it's going to bounce 4 cards back to your opponent's hand. Bounce 4. It's easy for a lot of people to forget how insane that is. Bouncing 4 cards back to hand. Incredible. Again, just literally breaks an entire board. And that's during your opponent's turn. And then you can do it again during your turn. Because that's why we're playing 2. And if that wasn't enough, it also has an effect where you can bring back one of your punk monsters from the graveyard once per turn. During your turn, of course. So even past it bouncing back the entire field back to the hand, it can also bring back punks in order to continue comboing like crazy. And it's got that 3k body. All in all, this card is brutal. I love this card. Everything about it. Great, love it. And lastly, we got the Psychic and Punisher. Again, this card wins us games by itself sometimes. You saw it in game, was it game 2, game 3? Can't remember which one, where this card just soloed and won us the whole game. Like right beginning to end. Unaffected by opponent's activated effects so long as your life points are equal to or less than theirs. So life point management becomes useful, but all of your cards pay life points for card effects. So you're always going to be lower. The Psychic and Punisher as well. Sorry, my dog is barking and distracting me. Oh no. But it can also target a monster you control and a card your opponent controls, pay 1,000 life points, banish both. Pretty effective. And it also, at the beginning of the battle phase, can gain attack points equal to the difference in your life points. So it can get absolutely massive. But again, use the effect with caution. As you saw in our gameplay, clever usage and utilizations of its effects are very important. Otherwise, your opponent will be able to get rid of it. But if you're smart, you can make it very tough on your opponent to get rid of this card. And that's pretty much it. The rest of the extra deck, like I said, we went through a bunch of really powerful options you can put into it. Personally, I was playing Chaos Angel and Brave Neos, which I would probably take out. I didn't use them enough. I was playing them because they were new and they were fun, and in theory they were great. Like this Chaos Angel effect, being able to protect your entire board from being affected by monster effects or being destroyed by battle, is incredible. My only problem with it is that it comes at the cost of even a Baron or a Ching Ying. I think this card is probably better than a Ching Ying on an opening board, absolutely. But you can only summon a 3 instant contact then, so it's situational. And it was a little bit too situational for it to see use in our situation. But again, I have absolutely zero doubts that this card will at some point win me a game by itself in solo carry. So I like playing it. I don't think it's mandatory if you want to save room, but it is definitely a really solid card. I think Chaos Ruler definitely deserves a spot based upon its utility alone and the fact that there are certain games you will lose if you do not have it. So if I were to put in my 4 flex spots, I would likely put in these 2, put in Brave Neos, as well as our Earth Charmer. This is how I will play it. The Earth Charmer spot, again, is here a hit or miss. It's purely here for like the mirror match or for unbricking off of a deer note, things like that. But I definitely like this card a lot. So that's just my take on it on the extra deck. Again, those last 4 spots you can do whatever you want with. You're not going to use them a ton. You're going to really just stick to the first 10 that we talked about. Even Dragite's not really going to come up too much. Those first 10 are going to be what you use basically every single game. And those 10 will be able to win you basically every single game. So don't worry too much about the rest of it. Put in whatever suits your fancy, whatever you like. If you've got any fun gimmicks you want to test out, if you got any rank 7s you want to put in, Shangrira is another really nice card you can put in. You want to put in Big Eye, go for it. The last few cards in the extra deck are yours to play with, and I shall say no more on the subject. So if you got this far into the video, thanks, I guess. If you got this far in, just to sort of see how many people are watching to the end, because I am very, very curious, I want you to leave in the comments, Wagon. I want you to type Wagon in the comments. We did it before with Shamal in a Blackwing video, and we never did it again. I am very curious about to see who watches to the end of the videos. So if you're watching this, type Wagon in the chat, in the comments, just so I can see how many people are actually watching to the end. But yeah, that's us. Subscribe if you're new, or if you haven't, or maybe you've just been on the fence about it. Subscribe, absolutely. Doesn't cost you anything. You get to see all of this stuff as it's coming out. We cover Punk all the time because it is a personal favorite of mine. I will be playing it again. You can bet your ass. So yeah, absolutely subscribe. Like the video if you enjoyed watching it. Join as a member if you have the resources and the will to do so. If you really want to show support and it's within your budget, absolutely. I would appreciate every little bit of support we can get. And that should pretty much wrap us up. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.